To me, I'd let the Senate
A
decide.
defiant Donald Trump says he takes no responsibility for impeachment.
No, I don't take any, zero, to put it mildly.
As Democrats prepared articles of impeachment for a full vote in the U.S. House of Representatives.
No one should be allowed to use the powers of the presidency to undermine our elections or cheat in a campaign, no matter who it is and no matter what their party. We all took an oath not to defend a political party, but to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Imagine this for a second. You're Donald Trump. You're back in the White House for a second term, and you think you're untouchable. You've survived 2 impeachments. You've survived criminal convictions. You've survived everything the system has thrown at you.
Following the unrest, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, as Kerry mentioned, are calling for the removal of President Trump. Some say he incited the violence, and besides the impeachment, they also want to invoke that 25th Amendment.
It really is not designed to remove a president for the reasons that people are thinking of now. Those reasons are really designed more for impeachment.
And we talked with a local professor about what could happen. Now, the 25th Amendment provides the procedures for replacing the president or vice president in the event of death, removal, resignation, or incapacitation.
And now you're president again. So you're safe, right? Wrong. Because right now in 2026, there are multiple impeachment resolutions sitting in Congress, active resolutions ready to go, and Democrats are openly talking about forcing a floor vote that could trigger a 3rd impeachment.
Each senator, when his or her name is called, will stand in his or her place, and they'll vote guilty or not guilty as required by Rule 23 of the Senate Rules of Impeachment.
Ms. Baldwin. Ms. Baldwin, guilty. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Barrasso, not guilty. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, guilty.
A second removal trial in the Senate. And it's not just impeachment. There's also serious talk about invoking the 25th Amendment, having Trump's own cabinet declare him unfit for office and remove him that way.
This is not something that you can do based on polls and based on what a political consultant tells you to do. And I feel firmly in that, and the voters will have a chance to decide next year. And, you know, the biggest honor of my life to represent this district, but I'm not going to compromise in my integrity to do it.
Trump's administration is in chaos, complete chaos, because he's not just dealing with normal political opposition, he's dealing with organized efforts from multiple directions to remove him from office again. These aren't symbolic gestures. These are real resolutions with real legal weight that could actually force a vote. House Resolution 353 is the big one. Introduced in 2025, it contains 7 articles of impeachment, obstruction of justice, abuse of trade powers, usurpation of Congress's spending authority, violation of First Amendment rights, bribery and corruption, and get this, tyranny. They're literally accusing the president of tyranny. And this resolution is privileged, which means Democrats can force it to the floor whenever they want. They don't need Republican permission. They can just bring it up and force a vote.
I have called for the impeachment of Donald John Trump, President of the United States of America. He is an abuser of presidential power. He has called for the execution of members of the House of Representatives, of this very House. He has demeaned members of the judiciary. He has conducted himself in office such that persons are now threatening members of the judiciary, threatening members of the House of Representatives, threatening members of the Senate. Donald John Trump, by his conduct, merits impeachment, trial, and conviction in the Senate of the United States of America.
That's not the only one. Representative Al Green has filed 2 more impeachment resolutions, House Resolution 415 and House Resolution 939, accusing Trump of abuse of power and incitement of violence against lawmakers and judges. This is an organized strategy. This is Democrats keeping removal on the table all the time throughout Trump's entire second term. Then there's the 25th Amendment. That's the constitutional provision that lets the cabinet declare the president unfit for office. If a majority of the cabinet signs off, Trump can be removed just like that. No impeachment trial, no Senate vote. The cabinet says he's unfit, Congress backs them up, and he's out. Right now, Democrats and activists and commentators are openly calling for this, saying Trump's recent actions prove he's dangerous, that he's unfit, that his cabinet needs to step in and remove him before he does more damage. Even though it's politically unlikely, even though Trump's cabinet is full of loyalists who would never turn on him, the fact that people are even talking about it, the fact that it's on the table, that creates chaos, that creates uncertainty, that makes foreign leaders and investors and everyone wonder, is Trump actually going to survive his second term? Let's dig into what these impeachment resolutions actually say, because the charges are specific and they're serious. House Resolution 353 isn't vague. It's 7 detailed articles. Article 1, obstruction of justice. Trump interfered with federal investigations, blocked witnesses, refused to turn over documents. Article 2, abuse of trade powers. He used tariffs as political weapons, not for national security, but to punish enemies and reward allies. Article 3, usurpation of spending authority. He redirected money Congress appropriated, withheld aid, moved funds without permission. Article 4, violation of First Amendment rights. He retaliated against journalists, protesters, and critics, used federal agencies to investigate people who spoke out. Article 5, bribery and corruption. He used his office to enrich himself,
I
steered
was very
government
honored
contracts to his
amend
properties,
Viktor
accepted
Orban.
foreign
Did
payments through
anyone
his
ever hear from him?
businesses.
He's probably-
Article 6, abuse of the pardon power. He pardoned allies and donors to obstruct justice, sent a message that loyalty means protection. Article 7, tyranny. This is the catch-all. Accusing him of acting like a dictator, ignoring court orders, attacking judicial independence, concentrating power in the executive branch, ruling by decree. These charges are sitting in Congress right now, ready to be brought to the floor. Democrats are waiting for the right moment. Maybe after another scandal, maybe closer to the midterms, maybe when public opinion shifts enough that they think they can get some Republican votes. But the point is, this isn't going away. It's hanging over Trump's head every single day. And activist groups like Impeach Trump again are running campaigns to pressure Congress to actually bring these to a vote. They're organizing, lobbying, trying to convince enough Democrats and maybe a few Republicans to force the issue. Even if these resolutions fail, even if they never get the votes, they're still having an effect because they keep Trump on defense. They force him to spend time fighting impeachment threats instead of governing. They create uncertainty that affects everything. Markets, foreign policy, domestic politics. Now let's talk about the 25th Amendment, because that's the other path to removing Trump. Section 4 says that if the vice president and a majority of the cabinet declare the president unable to discharge his duties, the vice president immediately becomes acting president. Just like that, Trump would be out, J.D. Vance would be in, but Trump can challenge it. He can send a letter to Congress saying, no, I'm fine. I'm still president. Then Congress has to vote. Both the House and Senate need a 2/3 majority in both chambers to keep Trump out. So it's a high bar. You need the vice president to turn on the president, a majority of the cabinet to agree, and if Trump fights it, 2/3 of Congress to back them up. That's really hard to pull off when Trump's cabinet is full of loyalists who owe him their jobs. But people are talking about it because they look at Trump's behavior, the erratic decisions, the attacks on judges, the military actions without congressional approval, the threats against his own party, and they say this isn't normal. This isn't someone fit to be president, and his cabinet has a constitutional duty to step in if the president is unfit. So why aren't they doing it? Even though it's unlikely, the fact that it's being discussed as a real option adds to the chaos, adds to the sense that Trump's presidency is in crisis. Here's the political calculation for Democrats. Keeping impeachment and the 25th Amendment on the table is strategic because it keeps Trump off balance. It keeps him defensive. It forces Republicans to constantly defend him. It gives Democrats something to campaign on in the midterms. They can say, we tried to remove this dangerous president and Republicans protected him. Are you okay with that? But there's a risk because impeachment has backfired before. Trump's been impeached twice. Both times the Senate acquitted him. Both times he came out stronger. His base rallied around him. Republicans circled the wagons. Trump turned it into a political weapon. Look, they're trying to overturn your vote. They hate you and they hate me. So, Democrats have to be careful. If they push for impeachment again and it fails again, it could energize Trump's base, make him look like a victim, hurt Democrats in the midterms. So, they're trying to thread the needle, keep the thread alive, keep the pressure on, but don't pull the trigger unless they're sure they can win. That's where we are right now. Multiple impeachment resolutions active and ready. 25th Amendment talk in the air. Activist pressure building, but no actual vote. Not yet. Because Democrats are waiting. They're watching for the right moment, the right scandal, the right shift in public opinion. And when that moment comes, they're going to move. Trump's administration will explode into even more chaos than it's already in. Let's break down what this actually means. Point 1, the impeachment resolutions are real. They're actual documents filed in Congress with specific charges, H.R. 353, H.R. 415, H.R. 939. They're sitting there ready to be brought to the floor. Democrats can force a vote whenever they want because at least one of them is privileged. Will these resolutions pass? Probably not. Republicans control the House. Unless a significant number defect, which seems unlikely, they won't get the votes. But that's not really the point. The point is forcing a vote, making Trump and every Republican go on record. Do you support this president, or do you think he should be removed? That's a tough vote. That creates political pressure. That's what Democrats want. Point 2, the charges are serious. 7 articles of impeachment in H.R. 353 alone. Obstruction of justice, abuse of trade powers, usurpation of spending authority, First Amendment violations, bribery and corruption, abuse of the pardon power, tyranny. These aren't minor accusations. They're fundamental challenges to Trump's fitness for office. Democrats are saying this president is breaking the law, violating the Constitution, behaving like a dictator, and we need to remove him before he does more damage. Whether you agree or not, the fact that these charges are out there, that they're being taken seriously by a significant portion of Congress, shapes how people see Trump's presidency. It reinforces the narrative that Trump is corrupt, dangerous, unfit. Even if impeachment fails, that narrative sticks. Point 3, the 25th Amendment is a wild card. It's unlikely, probably not going to happen. But the fact that people are talking about it, discussing it as a real option, is significant. The 25th Amendment isn't a political tool. It's a constitutional mechanism for removing a president who's genuinely unable to do the job, who's mentally or physically incapacitated. When Democrats and activists start talking about using it on Trump, they're saying this isn't about policy disagreements. This is about Trump being unfit, dangerous, unable to discharge his duties. Even though his cabinet won't invoke it, the question being raised puts pressure on them. It forces them to defend Trump, to say, he's fit, he's fine, no problem here. Every time there's another scandal or erratic decision, it undermines their credibility. People wonder, are they telling the truth or just protecting Trump because they're loyal? Point 4, this is all part of a broader strategy. Democrats aren't just trying to remove Trump. They're trying to weaken him, keep him on defense, create chaos inside his administration, make it harder for him to govern. They're setting up a narrative for the 2026 midterms. Trump is dangerous. Republicans are protecting him. And if you want accountability, give Democrats control of Congress. This strategy is working, at least partially. Trump is on defense. He's spending time fighting impeachment threats instead of focusing on his agenda. He's attacking members of his own party who might waver. He's lashing out at judges and the media. All of that creates chaos, makes Trump look weak, makes his presidency look unstable. That hurts him politically. But here's the flip side. Trump thrives on chaos. He's good at it. He knows how to turn attacks into political fuel, how to rally his base, how to make himself look like a victim. Impeachment can backfire. It can energize his supporters, make them dig in harder, make them more likely to turn out and vote for him and his allies. So Democrats are playing a dangerous game. They're trying to weaken Trump, but risk making him stronger. They're trying to hold him accountable, but risk looking partisan and overreaching. If they push for impeachment and it fails, Trump gets to say, see, I told you it was a witch hunt. They had nothing, and he's still president. So that's the calculation Democrats are making. When do we pull the trigger? When do we force a vote? Do we do it now while the resolutions are fresh and charges specific? Or do we wait for another scandal, another court ruling, another moment when public opinion shifts enough that we might get some Republican votes? Right now, they're waiting. They're keeping the resolutions alive, keeping the pressure on, but not forcing a vote because they don't think they can win. Losing another impeachment vote would be a disaster. It would make Trump look invincible, demoralize Democrats, hurt them in the midterms. So they're holding back, but that could change any day. Any scandal, any moment when Trump goes too far, Democrats might decide, now's the time. Now we force the vote. Now we make Republicans defend him. And when that happens, Trump's administration explodes into full-blown crisis. What does this mean for Trump's presidency going forward, even if he survives? Even if these resolutions never get voted on? Even if the 25th Amendment never gets invoked? The fact that they're hanging over his head has consequences. Foreign leaders see a president who might not finish his term, who's constantly under threat of removal. That makes them nervous, hesitant to make long-term deals because they don't know if he'll be around to honor them. Trump's foreign policy is weakened. His ability to negotiate is diminished because everyone knows he's on shaky ground. Domestically, investors see the chaos, the impeachment threats, the 25th Amendment talk.